Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Snappy Chappy. Today, our topic of the day is going to be the video game Warframe. So, Warframe is essentially an MMORPG that is available across platforms, and I believe it's also on mobile now.
I think I have to actually look into that, but I know they have a mobile app that actually runs along with your game.
Yeah, I know that they have been trying to get the game actually on mobile, but I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think it is ready for mobile.
Oh, okay. So that's news to me.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. We both learned something new today.
Yeah.
So do you kind of want to talk about a little bit of the preface of Warframe and like what the game is about?
So Warframe is actually going to be a fast-paced third-person shooter. I can't talk today. But the game itself, it's mission-based, so you have lots of different missions, like defense missions, extermination missions, survival missions. And pretty much the interesting part about Warframe is just the sheer amount of Warframes that are in the game, which is essentially a living suit that you can like control. And it has different abilities for each one. There's...
So how did you hear about Warframe?
I actually just stumbled upon it one day, like 16 years ago. And this was just, on a little home computer that we used. But yeah, I just started it up. I didn't play it very much because I was young and dumb, so I only played one mission on repeat. So yeah.
What kind of interested and playing it?
Mostly it was like the little catchphrase that I know they used it before. I don't know if they use it still, but it's like ninjas play free. Uh-huh. And because I was a kid, like I couldn't really spend money because I wasn't working, and it was free. So I thought, hey, you know what? I'll give this a try. The characters on the front look interesting. Might as well give it a shot.
Yeah, and the way that I learned about Warframe is kind of similar, except it was like a lot later. I think I was in high school or something when I heard about it, but I only like just started up the game and chose my character, and that was it.
Gotcha.
Like I don't even think I actually played the game.
Oh.
And it wasn't until you introduced me to it again to where I kind of started playing it again.
Right on. Yes. Play more Warframe.
So getting started with the game, like what advice can you give to people that are just starting, or what do you want to tell people about the game who are interested?
The biggest thing that I would say to really get into starting would be, number one, of course, blueprints for like weapons, that type of thing, and also learn how to modify your character, because Warframe has a lot of mods that can go into your Warframe and your weapons. And I didn't realize that was like a big focal point at first, of course, but I highly recommend really learning mods, where to find them, look up, information online, where to get certain mods, that type of thing.
Something that I would suggest to people who are just getting started, or something that I would tell people that are interested in playing but haven't played yet, go into the game knowing that it is essentially an endless grind. So unless you have the time to really cut into the game, you're not going to go very far into the game. The system continues to fall into chaos. The game is yelling at us.
Sorry about that. I forgot to mute the TV.
Yeah, so if you are somebody that doesn't have a lot of time to really be, like how you said, doing research and putting in a lot of time to work on certain characters or certain weapons, things like that, this is probably not going to be the best for you.
Yeah, it does definitely eat up a lot of time, especially when you're trying to grind for a particular thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're really looking for, a Warframe, number one, the drop chances, they're not bad, but it does take time to actually just get the blueprints. And then, of course, when you go to craft them, first it takes 24 hours to craft the individual parts.
Mm-hmm.
and then it takes 3 days to craft your Warframe.
Yeah.
So it takes quite some time.
It's like Animal Crossing, but with a lot more components to it. A lot more detail. So like, the grindiness of Animal Crossing in the sense that it takes, real life time to build houses and things like that, the same way that this takes real time to create weapons and characters and things like that. Unless you have like a decent group of people that you can play this game with on a regular basis, it's going to be very hard for you to do certain things on your own.
Yeah, especially, you can pretty much do the entire solar system because, you have to go through each individual planet, going through missions, that type of thing. But you can do the entire solar system on your own. Yeah. It's not until you get to like real end game stuff to where it's probably best to have a group of friends that you can play with. You can also play with like random people online, make new friends that way.
Yeah.
But in reality, you don't really have to until you're already like super late game.
Good. And so the next thing is gameplay and mechanics.
So gameplay, again, it's a fast-paced third-person shooter. And it also depends on which weapons that you have. Each weapon is going to have its own different mechanics, how it shoots. You have just standard weapons, assault rifles, shotguns, sniper rifles. Then you have some interesting ones. My favorite would be, it's called the Bubonico. And it's essentially a giant tentacle shotgun that shoots viral rounds. And its secondary fire is essentially 3 exploding balls. So the weapons can be vastly different from one another.
Yeah, and they're all very odd looking. Like, of course, it's like an alien robot universe. Yeah. So, of course, everything looks very funky, very weird, very different. Everything functions very different, very clunky. Same thing with all the Warframes, all very clunky.
Yeah.
All have
different abilities and skills, different stats. Like one of my first Warframes, which is still one of my favorites, but he's not the best at endgame, unfortunately, would be Rhino. Rhino's really good. He's one of the best tanks, I would say, for early game. And of course, you have your primary skill, like your passive skill. Rhino, when he falls from something super high up, when he lands, he emits a shockwave, which damages everything around him to a certain distance. He does have, like some abilities that can be useful, some that aren't. Like he has a charge ability, which damages things in its way. He just charges forward. Iron Skin, which is one of the better abilities for Rhino, in my opinion, because you essentially become invincible for a limited amount of time. Roar, he has a little bit of support. Roar actually increases damage output. And of course, Rhino Stomp, he stomps the ground and he damages everything around him, and the enemies kind of float in the air for a little while. So just those types of things for Warframes, and you really want to learn your Warframe's abilities just so you can come up with a better strategy for different types of enemies. And not a single Warframe is going to be good at everything. There are Warframes that are good at almost everything, but you are going to need more than one Warframe, which is fine because there's like, where are we at now? Like almost 60?
There's a lot. I don't know the exact number, but there's a lot. Like there's almost an overwhelming amount at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And also just like as a note, you do also have to have different Warframes in order to rank up. So you can't rank up unless you have more things to rank up.
Which is another mechanic, and this is an important one, mastery rank. Of course, you start off at, I can't remember if it's 0 or 1. I think it's 0.
You get 0 also.
But for each mastery rank, you actually unlock different things. You unlock different weapons, things like that. So that's another thing to actually keep up with as well. Now, along with that, every weapon in Warframe does have a mastery rank attached to them as well.
Yes.
And you can only have that go to your general mastery rank the first time that you rank it up to rank 30. So you do have to constantly be ranking up weapons and warframes in order to get that mastery rank up to have access to better weapons and stuff. So like you said earlier, it's very grindy.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other Warframes that are like your favorites that you want to talk about?
I have a few. Another one that I want to talk about is actually Nidus. Nidus is interesting because he doesn't have any shields. He only has health. But the good thing about Nidus is that he has passive health regeneration. Now, that doesn't help very much in the late game, but one big thing about his abilities is that he actually gains stacks while he infects enemies with his other abilities. And with those stacks, if you have, I believe it's a stack of 11 or something like that, if your health reaches 0, it just eats up those stacks and Nidus doesn't die. He becomes invincible and he regenerates all of his health for a short time. So Nidus is a really, really good Warframe once you actually get into his skills and you actually know how to use them almost like to perfection.
Yeah.
Another Warframe that I actually want to talk about, and this is another shout out to my cousin, and it is Inaros. Inaros is another one of those Warframes. I just saw him here somewhere. Inaros, here he is. But Inaros is another Warframe to where he doesn't have any shields, but he has a massive health pool. Inaros is just really good at survivability. He does have an ability that gives him armor. He has other crowd control-y kind of abilities to where, he essentially turns into a mini dust or sandstorm. So it also pulls in enemies and has them up in the air, damages them, and it also regenerates health. So Inaros is crazy good when it comes to just survivability, tanky stuff. I think my cousin even got his health to 20,000 or some ridiculous number. So he's a really good frame.
Very good. Favorite.
Do you want to talk about a Warframe? Korra.
Not my first Warframe, because unfortunately you can't just choose whichever one you want when you start.
Yeah.
But my first Warframe that I bought was Korra. I'm one of those people that chooses Warframes just based on how they look, basically, because I'm not as big of a player as a lot of other people are. I think the last time I played Warframe was maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, I can see that. You gotta get in there.
Oh no. But Korra is really awesome because in the game you can also own pets, and pets also have their own abilities and different things that they can do to aid you in your Warframe in your different missions. Korra comes with a pet called a Kavat, which is a cat type pet, and the cat that can do a lot of different things. You can have it set to help you attack. You can have it set to protect you or another person that's helping you, like a friend playing with you. And you can also have it set to heal you. It's very nice.
That healing one is my favorite.
Yeah, the healing one is really good, especially if you're by yourself.
Oh yeah.
If your pet is killed, you can also use that ability to run light. Another really good one is, I forget what it's called, but it's the Wick ability. There it is. She has a whip, and essentially if you use the whip, it gets the enemy super hard, and it can either one-shot them, depending on how good your Warframe is and kind of how you first it up, or you can have it, if it doesn't kill them, it just kind of pushes them back. And then the other one I really like, English hunts. See, Yeah, the strangled goat. And it basically just pulls every enemy in a certain radius of your character into like your whip, essentially. And it almost instantly kills them.
It can.
Depending on how long it lasts and how strong your
abilities are, that type of thing.
I forget what they're called, but the
mods?
the mods.
Yeah. And that one's also really good because it really helps when you're, because of course you have to get a lot of materials for crafting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good ability for that because you could just, be in a room, just cast that ability just outside the room, and the enemies just kill themselves at that point.
Yeah, it's basically how it makes you, or it makes the enemies kill themselves. They also can't function. And then my other favorite one is Wisp, which is clean.
Wisp. Yeah, I love Wisp. Where is she? There she is. Wisp, she's pretty much my main Warframe right now. She's really cool. She deals a lot of damage, and she's pretty much been like the best support character in the game. Her passive ability is essentially going to be, as long as you're in the air, you are invisible. Enemies cannot see you. So that's a really good one to sneak around. Another thing is also she puts down these like reservoir motes, and they help you in 3 different ways. One of them actually gives you more health. Another one gives you faster attack speed and running speed, and the other one is more defensive. So it like shocks enemies when they get a little too close. She has another ability, it's called Will-O-Wisp, where she essentially just sends out a projection of herself forward and distracts enemies. So really good. Distract the enemies. Breach Search. This one blinds enemies, and they also become a little bit more vulnerable, I believe. And when you kill an enemy that is currently blinded by this ability, it actually damages other enemies around them. Her last ability isn't my favorite. It's called Soulgate. It essentially opens up a portal to the sun and shoots a beam. But in late game, it's not very strong, and you can actually swap that out for something better.
Full concentrated power, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Another thing that I really have to mention with Warframe is, yes, it's very grindy, and all of these Warframes might be, just completely overwhelming. But the best thing about Warframe is you don't have to spend a single dollar on the game in order to get anything in the game.
Yeah, that is really true. There are nowadays not very many true, play to win type games. Most of them nowadays are pay to win. Mm-hmm. There's even a Warframe clone out there.
The First Descendant.
Yeah, it's essentially a Warframe clone, but it literally is pay to win. Mm-hmm. Because there's only so much that you can grind. Like, the game essentially makes it impossible for you to grind to get things for free, even though it claims that you can get everything for free.
Yeah, this is kind of going off the Warframe topic, but my biggest issue with that was it would essentially take you days to get enough of one material to attempt to craft something.
Yeah.
It was to the point where it encourages you to purchase, the in-game currency.
Which is very expensive.
Extremely expensive. Like, at least with Warframe, if you wanted to buy a Prime Warframe, it's $80. But with that, you get the Warframe, you get the weapon pack, you get a skin pack, you get Platinum, which is Warframe's, actual currency. So you get a lot more bang for your buck, because typically just the Platinum that it gives you was worth the $80 that you spent.
Yeah, so you're getting, almost $200 worth of game items for $80.
Yep.
Which, it does sound like a lot, but you put it into perspective of other games that are very similar to Warframe, it's really not that much.
Yeah, like going back to the first Descendant, if you wanted to spend actual real money on just one Descendant, it was almost $120.
Yeah.
So, and that's just the Descendant, that's nothing else. As opposed to Warframe, you know, you get the Warframe slot, you get the Warframe, you get the weapon pack, probably a skin, other stuff, maybe like a booster. But yeah, you don't have to. Every single weapon, every single Warframe is craftable. Plus, also, if you're really good at the game and getting some really rare mods, you can actually set up your own store in-game to sell items like blueprints and mods and stuff like that for platinum.
Yeah, and it's really cool because there is basically like a bartering system in Warframe. There are a lot of people like in the main chat of the game that are, you know, trying to sell things, people trying to buy things. Some people are willing to trade with you if you have something that they're looking for. A lot of people will give you Warframes for like the components to build a Warframe for a pretty good, quote unquote, in-game price.
Yeah.
Things like that. Some of them will have like the whole thing just built. You just have to process it.
Yeah, like it's like the way buying a Warframe in Warframe works, if you're buying it from another character, is they can't sell you the parts themselves, they sell you the blueprints.
Yeah.
So they'll sell you all the blueprints that you need to craft that one Warframe, and Warframes go for a pretty penny. They go for like, you know, depending on the Warframe, they can go anywhere between like 50 platinum and up to the really rare ones, because Prime Warframes, which are stronger versions, they're not out all the time.
Yeah.
They actually go into a vault after a while, so no more, essentially, until they decide to bring them back.
Yeah.
So if you try to buy a Prime Warframe from someone and they're vaulted, you're going to pay quite a lot of money.
That's the.
So, yeah.
And another great thing about Warframe is that, how we were saying earlier, there are a lot of Warframes now, and there are still Warframes being announced. I think there's like 2 more Warframes that were just announced.
I only knew of one, but if there's 2, that's even better.
Yeah, there's like a military type one, and then
yeah,
a different one. I can't remember exactly what it is, but
I can't remember the name of it either. I'd have to look it up, but
there are 2 that are coming out soon. But the great thing about that is that there is a Warframe for everyone's playstyle.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have, you know, absolute nuking Warframes, like you just spawn in and you can just take out the entire map. And that's it. You have tank Warframes like Rhino, you have support Warframes like Wisp. Each one having their own little mix.
Their own mix, their own story. And it's really awesome because you can customize them with all the different colors that you want, different helmets, different stances, different armor.
Yeah, you know, you have a lot of customization going on with these Warframes. And it's a lot of fun.
So what are some of your favorite things about the game?
Some of my favorite things about it is just how massive it is. I mean, it's not super huge on content because, again, it is mission-based. But I really like just how different every planet will be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variety in it. And it's also just a really fun game to play with people. Like whenever me and my cousin play this, we just get super into it. We can play for hours if we have the time. But yeah.
One of my favorite things is actually the dojo part of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because you and your friends get to make your own dojo list, which is essentially like your home base. You essentially build it from scratch. So if you're somebody that's into base building and things like that, that's a very good part of it. That's where you can like trade things with each other. There's some other things that you could do.
Yeah, so like it's just the hub of everything. You do also have this other, I forget what it's called, but it's like a giant spaceship that you get to do missions in, and that's the Railjack. Thank you. But yeah, that's essentially where you hold that, and it's also a place where you can craft weapons, you can research weapons, those types of things. So it really does help to have a solid dojo in the game, because again, there's certain Grenier weapons that you can't get normally. You have to research them.
Yeah. So it's like if you do have a big group of people that you can play with, it's a really nice thing to have, because you don't have to worry about having to do everything on your own. Somebody that's in your group may have already, researched blueprints for weapons, or they may have like a ton of a certain material that you have or that you need, so you can just get it from there.
And you can invite, people that you just play with publicly in the game, and you can end up building massive dojos.
Yeah.
And, all of them contribute to the building materials for certain rooms or different types of research stations. So it gets pretty crazy.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I really like about the game.
The dojo.
Very communal based.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone in the community.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's with any game. Like, you're going to have your horrible people in every game you can.
Absolutely.
And then least favorite things about the game. Okay.
I have to say one of the least favorite things about the game, especially now that I'm endgame, is that I kind of have to play with people in order to get certain things to make my Warframe a lot more powerful. That's not my favorite part of any type of video game, and I'm really glad that Warframe gives you the option. But for some really high level stuff, you kind of have to play with people.
Yeah. That's also kind of one of my least favorite things, is like at certain points you do have to do missions with other people, especially if you are somebody who's just getting into the game and you're doing a mission where like something costs a lot of energy and you just ended up, buying a Warframe that doesn't use energy or something, and you're kind of just screwed if you don't play with somebody that has a Warframe with energy.
Yeah.
Things like that. And like even some of the earlier missions are like, they made them almost impossible to do on your own. So that's kind of hard. And another one of the things that's my least favorite is one of your favorite reasons is because of how huge it is. I hate games that are giant for no reason. Like, I get it. It's an MMO. People have been playing this game for almost 20 years at this point. Like, people want new content that they haven't already played. But when a game gets so massive like this, it's almost inaccessible to people who want to start playing.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that's kind of hard. And the thing that kind of discourages me from playing games like this, because I just don't have the time or the energy to put into it to get to a point where everyone else is at, essentially. But I know that's not everyone else's opinion. And there are people that are okay with giant games like this. Like, I highly encourage people to try out Warframe at least, even if it's not their cup of tea, because it is really fun when you get into it and you have people that you can play with.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, in the most recent, not the most recent, one of the most recent updates for Warframe, this is just an example of like how endgame stuff really needs you to play with people. There's one particular type of mission in the new area that it highly recommends having a solid team to even play the mission. It doesn't keep you from playing it. You can definitely attempt it solo. But because everything is just so difficult, like everything is a bullet sponge, essentially. Unless you have all of your abilities, all of your mods perfectly aligned, you're probably not going to get very far.
Yeah. So that hurts. That hurts the soul a little bit.
It really does.
If you're competitive with other people a lot.
Mm-hmm.
At least people that you don't know. Because people that you don't know can be buttholes in games a lot of times.
That's why I just don't even look at the chat whenever I'm playing with people, because I have had those types of people to where I'm just playing the game. I just happen to hop in while you're playing it. And I had one person tell me, like, hey, stop following me. You're acting weird. And I'm just playing the game.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's weird.
It's like, I kind of have to follow you to get to, like, the end place so we can leave.
We have to go in the exact same direction because that's where progress is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
like, yeah, it's weird.
It can get kind of silly. But if you do end up trying Warframe and you're playing it publicly with other people, don't let that discourage you. They have their own world to deal with.
Yeah.
We're just here to have fun.
Yeah. Awesome. So that's kind of all we have for today. If you guys want to hear us talk a little bit more about Warframe, if you have a specific topic you want us to talk about, or you have something non-Warframe related for us to talk about, so feel free to leave it in the comments.
Yeah. And on that, if you have any particular questions about Warframe, maybe we can do like a Q&A episode if we get enough questions. A lot of this information is out there in the realm of YouTube or on the internet. So
in the world,
that type of thing. So yeah, just let us know if you guys have any recommendations, any questions, whatever the case.
Yeah.
Also, can't forget, shout out to my cousin, his business, Immortal Create. Go check it out. Give him some love.
Bye-bye.